Welcome back guys to another Cyberpunk video. This week I've been trying to improve my old stealth build and I have came up with no less than the new ultimate best stealth build ever. With infinite stealth, 400% additional headshot damage and 140% additional stealth damage. After optimizing all the important stealth mechanics, the damage for this build has been simply shooting through the roof. This build will give you the ability to always trigger your stealth mode and use optical camo almost infinitely long. This build is so powerful because you will literally never lose the ability to use stealth mode, you will never lose the ability to use Sun Devistan because all your cooldowns are constantly refilling because we are never really entering combat. And if so, then it's just for a split second before we are back to stealth. You can even toy around with police and max tag on the highest difficulty, and if you make yourself invisible, they will simply leave you alone because they can't see you anymore. There are multiple ways to get infinite stealth in this game. One of it involves to use crouch sprinting, but whatever you do, you absolutely have to get Headhunter 60 to extend the duration of optical camo. The Vanishing Act in the cool tree is a secret infinite camo perk, because whenever you crouch and start running while crouching, you will automatically trigger optical camo no matter if it is fully charged or not. So you can simply bypass the cooldown of optical camo by simply using crouch sprinting. Crouch sprinting is normally also quickly using up your stamina. However, when you activate Sun Devistan, you won't use any stamina at all. This allows you to basically use crouch sprinting as long as you have Sun Devistan. While crouch sprinting alone is already an insane mechanic, you can make this even better. The total charge time of the Militech Falcon Sun Devistan will be 13.8 seconds if you include all the buffs shown here on the screen. Even though the Quantum Tuner does not work on the camouflage mod itself, but the Quantum Tuner is able to triple the duration of your Sun Devistan. So we can abuse Sun Devistan, the Quantum Tuner and the additional Axolotl to boost our camouflage mod. Together with the Quantum Tuner and the Axolotl, we will get up to 40 plus X seconds Sandy duration. Whenever we have Sun Devistan activated, our optical camo will literally not move an inch. So we can safely add another 9 seconds cooldown from the optical camo to get a total of 49 seconds optical camo duration. And since the kills from Axolotl will count again also towards optical camo, we literally get the double amount of cooldown reset from making kills for our optical camo. But since we are never entering combat, the Quantum Tuner is also constantly refilling. The Quantum Tuner only has a 60-second cooldown, but we will get likely over 60-second duration for our optical camo, which literally triggers an infinite optical camo god mode. If you use this efficiently, you will never run out of Sun Devistan and you will never run out of optical camo. And if shit really hits the fan, you can still rely to crouch sprinting and activate it whenever you want. Since we are going stealth with this build and also use a lot of points into cool, it is more than reasonable that we also use a deep field damage trick. Because for every point we put in cool, the deep field visual interface will give us another % on critical damage. So you can get a total of 45% additional critical damage just for going cool 20. And we can additionally use one of the craziest weapons in the game, which will give us 400% additional headshot damage. And we also get 100% guaranteed crits just by using the XC10 Cetus Legendary Silencer. This is like having permanent dead eye for any weapon type. This is almost too good to be put into a single build, but I somehow managed to do it. And if we accumulate all the damage from all those tricks we used for this build, we will get up to 6400% damage. But aside from all this damage, it is more important to use optical camo and Sun Devistan in the most efficient way to get the most out of this build. There are so many possibilities to play with this build, but one of my most favorite ones is that you simply equip a pistol or a rifle equipped with the XC10 Cetus Silencer and safely kill everyone from the distance like a true stealth sniper agent. But you can of course also use knives or other throwing weapons to completely obliterate everything. Even though this creates some real chaos, the game somehow still considers this to be into stealth mode as long as you don't see any combat icon. But using that too excessively can also trigger the Cyber Psycho stealth mode where you can fight police while still being invisible all the time. Which is extremely cool because they don't know where you are and constantly lose track of you. But now let's finally check out the build, guys. By the way, if you want to support me creating more of these crazy builds and videos, please consider to become a YouTube or Patreon or join our Discord server. The craziest weapon you can use for a stealth build is of course the Pride, because it gives you up to 400% additional headshot damage and 100% additional critical damage. Of course we will equip a Kanotsugu optics for additional critical damage, and of course the XC10 Ceto silencer, which will give us guaranteed critical hits. A good alternative to the Pride is also Her Majesty, but this weapon only works as long as Optical Camo is active, but that shouldn't be a problem when using this build. The best long range or sniper weapon for this build would be the Prejudice, because the Prejudice will also give you an additional 100% critical damage. This weapon should be equipped with the Zyka optics and also with the XC10 Ceto silencer for guaranteed critical hits. Especially the combination of the silencer and the additional critical damage will make this weapon an absolute beast. However, if you don't have this weapon yet, you can also go and use the Guillotine XMA 2. The Guillotine XMA 2 should also be used with the XC10 Ceto silencer, then with a Ready Steady mod and an additional Pyro mod. The Prejudice can be acquired when you complete the Rogue ending from the base game, and after patch 2.0 you are allowed to keep it when you've finished it. When used correctly, the Prejudice can be an absolute crazy max stack smasher even on the highest difficulty. While the Prejudice is a base game item, the Guillotine XMA 2 can only be found in an abandoned shack in Dogtown. There's no quest requirement to get it, you can just go here and grab it as soon as you want. When you equip it with the correct mods and use the correct skills, this weapon is an absolute crazy stealth weapon. I definitely recommend you to go for Immovable Force, because it also activates the Ready Steady mod, which will turn it into an absolute deadly precise laser gun. As a true stealth player, in the third slot you should equip a throwing weapon. For that I would recommend you to go with the Agaouf, because it creates crazy electric explosions, but you can of course also use regular knives such as the Blue Fang as well. For the operating system, of course we will go for the Militech Falcon Sandevistan for maximum duration. We will use a handle wrap to increase the crit chance for our throwing weapons, a regular mag stock, and of course the Optical Camo in our Cyberware slot. When you complete this build, you will have up to 400% headshot damage, 100% critical damage, and 142% stealth damage. To equip all the necessary cyberware, you will need up to 355 capacity, which is very close to the legitimate maximum, which is 360 or 356 with only 4 attributes over 9. But don't worry, if you don't have enough capacity, you only have to use the items which are marked to make this build work, and you can leave out or change and remove anything else. In the frontal cortex, we'll go for the mechatronic core to increase your damage against robots, and as for all your cyberware items, you should always go for a high roll on stealth damage when you upgrade them. There's an easy trick to reroll all your stats for your cyberware, and I will link it for you in the description. Then of course we go for the Quantum Tuner, which is an absolute mandatory item to keep up your Sandevistan and your Camouflage mod. The Quantum Tuner does not work directly on the Camouflage mod, but the increased duration from Sandevistan and the Axolotl will also boost your Camouflage duration. So the Quantum Tuner, Axolotl, the Falcon Sandevistan and the Camouflage mod are the core items to make this work. The Falcon Sandevistan also has a much higher duration than the Apogee Sandevistan, so this is the much better item to use in a stealth build. You can of course go for the Kiroshi Cockatrice optics if you really want to boost your crit chance, but if you use the XC10 Ceto silencer, as long as you are still in stealth mode, you will have 100% guaranteed crits anyway. So I would rather recommend you to switch back to a more reasonable optics which don't cost a ton of capacity. That way you can also afford to use Immovable Force and even additional cyberware such as Threat Evac to further boost your stats. Especially if you want to use the Guillotine XMA 2, I definitely recommend this option. But of course it is always nice to have additional crit chance just as a backup. In the skeleton slots we'll go for Parabellum and the Bionic Joints to boost our armor stats, and of course you can also go for Dense Marrow to further boost your damage with melee weapons and throwing weapons. The Reflex Tuner can still help you out in critical situations, and it is really important to get the Stabber for the additional crit chance for your throwing weapons, because with throwing weapons we cannot equip the XC10 Ceto silencer, so we really want to make sure to hit 100% crit chance with throwing weapons. Since we are going cool anyway, the Deep Field Visual Interface will give us a crazy boost of up to 45% additional critical damage just for getting cool 20. Then of course we go for Shock and Awe, which is still one of the most valuable items in the integumentary system, and the Optical Camo, of course absolutely mandatory for stealth build, and last but not least the Subdermal Armor in the last slot. For our arm slots we will go for the Handle Wrap again to increase the crit chance for our throwing weapons. In the second hand slot you should go for the Shock Absorber, but if you want to play with the Guillotine or any other SMG, I definitely recommend you to go for the Immovable Force mod. In the circulatory system we go for Heal on Kill, which has a great synergy effect with the Falcon Sandevistan. Both of these items will give you additional health for any kill you make. Then we go for the Biomonitor, which will automatically use our healing items. You don't have to go for a blood pump, this will also work with a standard mag stock, but of course you can add a blood pump here if you want to. And in the leg slots, of course, don't forget to use the tendons for your double jump. And also don't forget to use the Cyberware stats reroll to get stealth damage on all your items. For the skills, you can still use our standard skill distribution with 20 body, 20 reflex, 20 tech and put all the remaining points into cool. However, you can also decide to put only 18 points in body and go up to cool 20. In the body tree we get all the perks at the bottom, especially Doorpad, which gives you 100% mitigation chance whenever you use a health item. Then we get Adrenaline and everything that improves Adrenaline, and of course also the Finisher, which gives you an additional 20% health item recharge speed. You can of course also reduce this by 5 points and go only for body 15 and instead invest these points into cool, but I think the body finisher has more value than the cool finishers, especially with the XC10 Ceto silencer. You don't need any cool finishers at all. In the Reflex Tree we can go up all the way the center tree with Slippery Dash up to Air Dash, which is one of the most important perks for many players. Then you can also grab Lead and Steel and Flash and Thunderclap if you want to go for melee weapons, because we get half of the perks anyway. If you want, you can also further increase that with finishers like the Blade Runner perk, but for a true stealth build it makes much more sense to improve the Assault and SMG tree and increase the accuracy as much as possible, then also get the Sharpshooter perk and Shoot to Thrill and Practice Max Perfect to increase your crit damage and crit chance for every bullet you shoot. And Sword in the Wound is a great perk against high level enemies such as Magstack. We'll put a lot of points into the cool tree this time, and we are starting with Feline Footwork, which will unlock the Ninjutsu perk, and then we go all the way to the left side to unlock Vanishing Act. This is your secret god mod perk for camouflage, because it allows you to activate your optical camo whenever you want to. On the right side, you should also go for Killer Instinct and Quick Getaway to increase your stealth damage and stealth abilities. Gag Order is also extremely important because it delays the time until other enemies are alerted when you are detected. So this is really important to stay out of combat. Then we go for Scorpion Sting without any additional perks to unlock Juggler. Juggler is the most important ability when it comes to throwing knives. It not only gives you a ton of damage with all its additional abilities, but it will also make your knives immediately return to you. On the left side you can also go for Focus, Head to Head and Deep Press to further increase your damage. You can also go for Deadeye, but the finishers are useless since the finishers are not affecting pistols anymore. I've been cutting a few perks here in the tech tree, but we still go all things Cyber, License to Chrome and Edge Runner of course to get the maximum capacity for our build. If you fill all slots you can of course also go for Cyborg, then Ambidextrous Extended Warranty. Chrome Constitution will further reduce your damage, Renaissance Punk of course for more capacity, and then Driver Update and Shipware Connoisseur to use the Cyberware stats reroll. Shipware Connoisseur is a perk you can actually remove once you are finished with the stats reroll, but Driver Update must stay, otherwise you lose the perk. In the left tree we only go for Glutton for War and Health Freak, so we don't go for Pyromania this time, and here we also have the secret god mod perk, which is Borrow Time. Even in a stealth build, Borrow Time can still help you out in critical situations, so it is as good as it always is and you should pick it up in any build you make. Of course also get First Aid and Transfusion to further improve your health items. The Relic tree is not really important, you may want to get Vulnerability Analytics or the Emergency Cloaking, but you will get all these perks anyway. I hope you really like this new build, please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.